Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Cadet Corps Tips Leadership Advice Series. In today's episode, we have a discussion regarding tips for new platoon leaders. And this was requested from the 237th Battalion Reed Middle School. And when I got this, I thought, you know what? Not many people talk about what the responsibilities are or, what a platoon leader actually does within the Cadet Corps program. And I thought I would give a little bit of advice on what a platoon leader does. But to get things started, I want to talk about the best thing I could do for you guys if whatever I say doesn't make sense. What I can say is that checking CR 3-22 Cadet Corps organization, that always is a good place to start. And for things at the battalion level, you should 100% check out the L3 strand, L3A in particular. But for this, all intents and purposes, we're going to be looking at L3A5 because it's a little more direct and specific than 3-22 is going to give us. So to talk about what a platoon leader does, right here. So my experience is pretty limited when it comes to platoon leaders. I was never a platoon leader, so I can't really say like I went out and I did stuff as a platoon leader, but I have observed and I have seen a lot of what platoon leaders are supposed to do. I remember back when I was at my first summer camp a long time ago, and I saw a platoon leader for the first time, like fully operating as a PL, and it didn't really give me a lot of insight because the PL was pretty distant. But, looking back on it now, I see that it was a pretty decent PL. So, first things first, I need to talk about this right off the bat. The platoon leader interprets their mission for the platoon from the company commander, which I might do an episode on company commanders later. But the platoon leader takes the mission that the company commander gets from the battalion commander, and that platoon leader takes it and they make their own mission that accomplishes the company commander's mission while still kind of giving it, that platoon leader personality to it. And, to go with the whole thing about, interpreting and stuff, it's kind of advanced. It's kind of an actual, officer thing. And I know in the Cadet Corps, having an officer, like a real officer, like a second lieutenant, as a platoon leader is pretty rare and far, far between. Few and far between, that's what I meant to say. But right here, we got to think about the platoon leader. It is an officer's job. And that means for anybody that's serving in this position, they have to think about it from the officer perspective. And, immediately going into that is an officer in the Cadet Corps and, even in the military. An officer observes the training or operations and it gives long distance adjustment requests. So you as an officer are supposed to get this big plan. You're supposed to make this plan. And you're supposed to brief it to your platoon sergeant as a PO. You're going to tell your platoon sergeant, hey, platoon sergeant, we got to do this. We got to do this mission. We got to execute it. We got to do whatever the mission is, and we got to execute it. The platoon leader briefs what their plan is to the platoon sergeant, and obviously as a platoon leader, I strongly recommend taking the advice of your platoon sergeant. You take the advice of your platoon sergeant, and you two make a plan. Now, after you make this plan, you take a step back, and the platoon sergeant has to go and execute this plan. And, this is something super hard for a lot of newer officers. You have to get out of that NCO mentality. You can't go and interfere with the ops. That's all platoon sergeant. So as an officer, you have to step back and observe. You have to watch. You have to see what happens. You have to see what goes well, what doesn't go well. You write that down. And, if there is something that needs immediate adjustment, like it's the danger of it can come to the detriment of the cadets, that's when you make a move. But otherwise, step back, observe, take notes, all that kind of stuff. You're going to have time. That's the best advice I can give. I've never been a platoon leader, but I hope that it helps out any of you cadets out there that are watching this that are planning on becoming platoon leaders or are platoon leaders currently. Hopefully that helps a little bit and maybe gives you a little bit of extra advice. But Until next time.